In this video, we're going to take a look at welding vectors. Welding vectors is, again, sort of a trimming tool, and it will automatically trim off various parts of two overlapping vectors. Here you can see that I've drawn a circle and a rectangle, and they both overlap each other. Now, I could just use the trim tool to do this, but it's quite a useful tool, the weld vectors tool, if you have something quite complex and you want to trim everything off in one go. So I've just left it like this just so I can show you the basics. So if I select both of these vectors and then go to vector drop down, come down to merge, and you can see that I've got weld, intersect, subtract, trim and explode. Now if I only have one of those selected and come down to that, you can see that the only one that's available to me is explode, because there's nothing that intersects it. I haven't got both of them selected. So if I select both of them again, come down to merge, and we'll start off with weld. Now what weld will do is trim off any of the areas on the inside of these two vectors. So if I click that, you can see that it gets rid of the inside of that, and it also joins it together, so I don't have to do that afterwards. So it's a real quick way of joining or trimming two vectors together. And you can do this with multiple vectors, and it's a really fast way of trimming. So if I undo that, select them again, go to the same menu, and this time use intersect. So what this has done, it's left everything that is on the inside. Undo, go to merge again, this time subtract, and it subtracted the circle from the rectangle. Now if I undo that, and this is dependent on the way that it's selected. So if I select the circle and then the rectangle and then do subtract, it does it the opposite way. Okay, so if I select the rectangle and then the circle and then go to subtract, it does it the other way. Okay, so it's all dependent on how you select it for that particular one. If I go to that again and go to trim, what this does, it trims it, but it leaves both of the parts. Okay, and then I can choose which one I want, so I can just delete it. If I select both of those again, and this time use the explode, what this does, it trims it, but it leaves those sections. So they're all separate entities now. Okay, and then you can choose what you want, and then obviously you need to join them up afterwards. Now on something quite complex, like this copy of a heart that I've done, I've just rotated this and created lots of copies. Now this would take me a little while to trim all of this off, but if I use the weld tool, it will automatically weld all of these together and delete any of the portions on the inside. So if I come to merge and weld, you can see it just leaves me with the outside shape. Now this is quite a useful tool when trimming off text that overlaps each other. So here you can see I've created this text and they are all overlapping each other. Now, if I were to just select that, you can see that it's purple, so it's all grouped together. Okay, and if I go to the vector and merge, the weld is greyed out. Now, the reason being is that it's grouped together, and I need to ungroup it in order to do this. So I need to turn it back into vectors rather than text. Okay, so I'll show you what not to do first of all. Okay, so if I right click and then just select ungroup vectors, if I select, let's say, the A here, you can see that I selected the outside, but it's still selecting the inside. The reason being that each letter within this block of text is actually a group. So every one of these letters is still a group. So if I undo that, you can see that this is one group. What I need to do is either go there and ungroup vectors, and then select everything again, and then ungroup again, so it comes back to vectors, or I can just select ungroup all, and it will completely ungroup everything, making it go back to lines and curves. So if I ungroup all, you can see it's now this pink colour. So if I were to select the inside of this A, you can see I can now select it. Okay, so I'll show you what not to do first of all. So if I select all of that and then go to merge and weld, you can see that it's trimmed everything off, but it's also removed all of those inside portions. The reason being is that those inside portions don't actually intersect with anything, so it's just deleting them. So what we need to do is undo that, select everything, and then any of those inside portions, press Shift on the keyboard and deselect them. So now if we go to the world vectors and we go there, what this will do, it will trim it off correctly. Okay, and this is all trimmed nicely. And that would take you quite a while to do that if you were using the trimming tool alone.